A blessed day, grade 11 students. Welcome to another School at Home class in Practical Research 1. This is the fourth module in the first quarter. At the end of this learning episode, you are expected to characterize qualitative and quantitative researches, differentiate qualitative from quantitative research, and examine sample researches in areas of interest. Are you now ready for today's class? Let's begin with the pre-test. Read the questions carefully. Write the letter of the best answer in your notebook. Question number 1. Which characterizes qualitative research? A. It has large sample size. B. It generates numerical data. C. It has specific variables to study. Or D. It uses interview and observation in data gathering. You have 5 seconds. Begin. And the correct answer is D. Question number 2. Which best describes quantitative research? A. It uses precise measurements. B. It generates data in the form of words. C. It offers results which are not generalizable. Or D. It generates a new hypothesis and theory from the data collected. Begin. And the correct answer is A. Did you get it right? Let's move to question number 3. What research type is subjective rather than objective? A. Descriptive. B. Experimental. C. Qualitative. Or D. Quantitative. You may now begin. And the correct answer is C. Let's move to number 4. Which research type analyzes numbers using statistics? A. Experimental. B. Narrative. C. Qualitative. Or D. Quantitative. Begin. And the correct answer is D. The final question. Number 5. A researcher aims to determine the factors affecting the performance of area managers of a restaurant. Which area of research can the study be classified? A. Business. B. Humanities. C. Science. Or D. Sports. Begin. And the correct answer is A. Did you get it right? What is your score? How did you perform in the pre-test? Nice try. Don't worry, I will help you understand the lesson today. In the previous module, you learned about research ethics. Recall the ethical standards which you have to observe when you conduct your research. Write E if the sentence describes ethical actions. Otherwise, write UE in your notebook. 1. Researchers fabricate data. 2. If researchers discover significant errors in their published data, they take reasonable steps to correct such errors. 3. Researchers present portions of another's work or data as their own. 4. Researchers tell participants exactly what will be done in the study, but do not explain why. And number 5. Researchers protect participants from physical or psychological harm. Time is up. Let's find out if you remember our previous lesson. I want you to look at your answer. The answer for number 1 is UE. 2, E. 3, UE. 4, UE. And 5, E, or ethical action. Were you able to get the right answer? What's your score? Good job! In today's lesson, let's gain insights on the types of research based on data, namely qualitative and quantitative research. How do these researches differ with one another? Would you know? Both qualitative and quantitative researches are types of educational research. The former is taken in Practical Research 1, while the latter is taken in Practical Research 2. Qualitative research is an educational research in which the researcher relies on personal viewpoints of the participants, where the researcher would ask broad general questions to the subjects, collects data consisting largely words, or this is in the form of text, from participants, describes and analyzes these words for themes, and conducts the inquiry in a subjective, biased manner. On the other hand, when we say quantitative research, it is also an educational research in which the researcher decides what to study, which means the researcher may identify the variable to measure. The researcher asks specific narrow questions, collects quantifiable data from participants, analyzes these numbers using statistics, and conducts the inquiry in an unbiased, objective manner. Given the descriptions of both qualitative research and quantitative research, which of them would you like to focus on in your research project? Let's try to look at how one differs with the other. These two types of research differ with one another in various criteria. In terms of purpose of the research, qualitative research aims to understand and interpret social interactions of men, understand and interpret social interactions, while quantitative research tests hypotheses, look at the cause and effect, and make predictions. Based on the subjects to be studied, qualitative has smaller participants, like one respondent for a case study, and not randomly chosen, meaning participants are not selected by chance as compared to quantitative research. As regards variables of the study, qualitative looks at the whole, not variables, while quantitative studies specific variables like age and mathematical ability of participants. In qualitative research, non-numerical data such as words, images, or objects are gathered, while numbers and statistics in quantitative research. In qualitative research, the non-numerical data take the form of open-ended responses, interviews, observations, field notes, and reflections. On the other hand, quantitative research collects precise measurements using structured and validated data collection instruments. Now, let's try to look at the type of data analysis. When you conduct qualitative research, the researcher identifies patterns, features, as well as themes. These are usually non-statistical, contextual, and thematic. Looking at the other side, quantitative research identifies the statistical relationships of variables that are being studied. Now, looking at objectivity and subjectivity. As mentioned earlier, qualitative is subjective, while quantitative is objective. What about the role of researcher, you as a student, if you are to conduct your study? Researcher in the qualitative research would look at the biases. The biases may be known to participants in the study, and participant characteristics may be known to the researcher. However, if you conduct your quantitative research, researcher and his/her biases are not known to participants in the study, and participant characteristics are deliberately hidden from the researcher. What about if we look at the results of both researches? Qualitative has particular or specialized findings that is less generalizable, not conclusive nor generalizable, which means to say that the result that you obtain from a particular group may not be applicable to another group, which is contrary to quantitative research. For quantitative, you find or get generalizable findings that can be applied to other populations, which means the result in one group may be applied to another group in the same level. You get broad-based insights as well as population-based understanding. What about the method to be used if you conduct these researches? Well, for qualitative, it's normally exploratory, or what we call bottom-up. The researcher generates a new hypothesis and theory from the data collected. On the other hand, quantitative is confirmatory, or what we call top-down. The researcher would test hypothesis and theory with the data. What about view of human behavior as a criterion? For qualitative, it is dynamic, situational, social, and personal, while quantitative is regular and predictable. Predictable is because you identify as a researcher the variables that you are going to study. What about most common research objectives? Well, when you conduct qualitative research, what your objectives are to explore, discover, and construct. You undergo in-depth understanding of underlying reasons and motivations. On the other hand, when you conduct quantitative research, you describe, explain, and predict, meaning there is the quantification of data and measurements of incidents. On focus, the focus when you conduct qualitative research is usually wide-angle lens. Examines the breadth and depth of a phenomena, which means to say, you look at the bigger picture of a particular phenomenon, while quantitative research is the opposite. You look at the narrow angle lens, which means you test a specific hypothesis. While the nature of observation for quali, you study behavior in a natural environment. And when we say natural environment, we're referring to specific context. So when you study group of students, then you have to observe them in school. Or natural environment could also be a workplace, which means you're going to observe your subjects in the place where they are. However, when you conduct quantitative research, you study behavior under controlled conditions, like when you conduct your research in the laboratory. Conditions are being controlled, and you isolate causal effects. The nature of reality. You have multiple realities in qualitative research because it is subjective, while for quantitative research, you only look at a single reality because that is objective. And finally, when you prepare your final report, the report normally in a qualitative research is narrative report with contextual description and direct quotations from research participants, which is different with that of quantity. It prepares a statistical report with correlations, comparisons of means, and statistical significance of findings. Did you understand, class, the difference between qualitative and quantitative research? Very good. Let's explore more on the research studies across fields. Take note of your strand because your research study needs to reflect your chosen strand. Research studies are conducted across fields such as business and management, computer science and information technology, education, government and law, communication, science and engineering, social sciences, medical and life sciences. These researches, when combined, would create a great impact to society's progress. In senior high school, students choose the focus of the research depending on their tracks and strengths. These are as follows. Students who pursue science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or what we call STEM, focus on development and innovation in research. The researchers explore and examine the physical and natural world. They create and apply knowledge in order to design, maintain, and innovate an existing product which satisfies the needs of the society or solves a problem of the community. Home economics. Let's look at tourism. Researches revolve around several areas such as tourism strategies, consumer behavior, operations, marketing, policy making, planning, performance, development, and management. Students may choose any of these areas and contribute to the development of tourism industry. However, in home economics, food and beverage, researchers may study food preservation, food management, and food innovation. Researches in Information Communications Technology, or ICT, focus on software, while computers system servicing centers on hardware. In this area, the researchers may look into intelligent systems, website development, internet marketing, fog computing, big data technology, digital tools, and the like. In the area on humanities and social sciences, or HUMS, researchers may look into man's behavior and interactions in various areas such as political, cultural, social, environmental, and economic settings. They study human experiences, its significance and meaning. Arts and design, or AD. Students may explore areas in dance, drama, film, visual arts, music, and theater. Researchers may examine the creation of artistic expressions in all forms of arts as well as utilization of the artistic process. Students enrolled in sports may focus their studies on athletic performance and physical activities of athletes. They may create sports programs, coaching strategies and techniques which would improve performance of athletes. In accountancy, business, and management, or what we call ABM, Researches may focus on business innovation, resources management, sustainability development, and entrepreneurship. Creating, developing, innovating, and delivering an effective product require research. Businessmen need research results to guide their decisions on product positioning, revenue potential, and target markets. Students who choose automotive may center their study on design manufacturing, production, automotive technology, product strategy, including sales and marketing. Researchers conduct a study in the area where their interest lies because they are more motivated to work on it. Let's try to look at some examples of researches in various areas of interest. In science, one example is portable solar-powered weather station. For tourism, one example of a research could be level of awareness of Pasig residents on historical heritage in Pasig City. For IT, you may have influence of information communications technology promotion in career preference of grade 10 students. For humanities and social sciences, the academic struggles of teenage fathers, untold stories of student fathers. For arts and design, perceptions of grade 12 senior high school students on minimalism for craftsmanship. Sports, you may look into lived experiences of grade 11 students with the use of visual methods and sports coaching. While in business, one example could be healthy tortilla wrap for A and B resto, a research-based demand analysis. For food, a dietary plan for grade 11 senior high school students. And finally, for automotive, assessment of electric cars, basis for unimproved system. Here are some examples of researches under each area of interest. I would like you to focus on your own specialization or your own strand and track. Did you understand our lesson today, class? Good. You're now ready to do these activities. These activities are found in the digitized worksheets. You will do these activities after watching this video lesson. Here are some of these activities. 1. Compare and contrast qualitative research and quantitative research. 2. Of the two research approaches, which would you prefer to do? I want you to explain your answer. And finally, I would like you to search for 5 researches in your area of specialization, list the titles of the researches, and identify whether the research is qualitative or quantitative. Please explain your answer. To summarize, identify the key points in today's lesson. What did you learn? Pause for 3 minutes and reflect on the concepts, information, and ideas in today's lesson. Complete the unfinished statements below. Write your answer in your notebook. 1. I became more aware of. 2. I discovered that. 3. I realized that. You may now begin. Time is up. You became more aware of maybe differences of quantitative and qualitative research. What did you discover and realize? Good. I want you to ponder on this. If you were a researcher and would do environmental scanning, what qualitative or quantitative research would you possibly work on to address issues and concerns around you? I want you to complete the table below, and I have given an example so that you can use it as a guide. You may now start. Time is up. So what are some of the issues and concerns? It could be in school or it could be at home. It could be the pandemic that we are experiencing right now. So what possible research topic could you work on? Good. That's a nice try. Now, let me find out if you have mastered the lesson for today. Let's have our post-test. Read the questions carefully, then write the letter of the best answer in your notebook. Number 1. Which best characterizes qualitative research? A. It has small sample size. B. It generates statistical data. C. It uses rating scale in data gathering. Or D. It focuses on specific variables to study. Begin. Correct answer is A. Let's move to number 2. Which best describes quantitative research? A. It uses structured instruments. B. It generates open-ended responses. C. It creates a new hypothesis and theory. Or D. It provides results which are generalizable. Begin. And the correct answer is A. Number 3. What research type arrives at a narrative report rather than statistical report? A. Descriptive. B. Experimental. C. Qualitative. Or D. Quantitative. Start. And the correct answer is C. Fourth question. What research type gathers data in the form of images and words rather than numbers? A. Exploratory. B. Narrative. C. Quantitative. Or D. Qualitative. Start. And the correct answer is D. The final question. Which research can be categorized under humanities and social sciences? A. Effectiveness of warm-up exercises for hikers. B. Sweeten Ampalaya, an innovative product for diabetics. C. Assessment of the accuracy of Waze in searching for location. Or D. Relationship between gender and leadership qualities of grade 11 students. Basis for Gender and Equality Program. Begin. Time is up. And the correct answer is D. What's your score? Good job! You deserve a pat. I hope you have learned something in today's lesson. This is the end of Module 4. Thank you for actively participating in class. If you wanted to review what we have learned, you may watch this video lesson again. See you in our next module. God bless and stay safe, everyone.